Hey guys, this is John Shea, and welcome to Lather Talk, a wet shaving podcast. In today's episode, we are closing out our first season by taking a quick look back at previous episodes, place our first soaps on the Lather Talk Shave Soap tier list, and talk about what's coming up in the future for Season 2. I am also happy to announce that my co-host Gerard and his wife welcomed a new baby boy into the world on Monday, March 30th. I just want to say congratulations and best wishes to your family. Also, I do want to apologize for some minor audio issues in the beginning of the episode. There's some very light buzzing in the background that does go away. I hope everyone listening and watching at home are safe and that today's episode can be a pleasant distraction to the worry or anxiety you may be experiencing. I hope you enjoy our conversation, and now, on to today's episode. Well, everyone, welcome to Lather Talk. This is the Season 1 wrap-up. I think what I want to do with Gerard in this episode is take a little stroll down memory lane, in that it's been a really busy, fast-paced few months since we launched the podcast. So the original intent that Gerard and I wanted to do was really just a one-on-one on various topics, which we have done throughout the season, but really we had such great response for people that we approached that wanted to do the show, and people even approached us after the podcast kind of got rolling. So we did do a bit of a course adjustment so that we can strike while the iron's hot and capture those interviews. Gerard, I do want to take a look back at these past few months, but also maybe we can take a little bit of time too to kind of go forward.
Yeah, the past few months have just kind of been a whirlwind. It's been over, I think, 3 months since we've started, or as we've been releasing these episodes. I think just like a couple of guys just like kind of talking about the happenings in the wet shaving world is just something that we definitely, or at least I definitely want to continue to do, and I'm looking forward to, as well as just kind of seeing everything else that's going on from here. A lot of things are kind of going to be happening in the future. As far as the podcast, I don't know if I don't think it's going to affect it, too much. I just, think that things in general, like around, with everything that's going on right now, with coronavirus, is going to just definitely affect maybe how people continue the hobby, as far as pickups and things like that. Maybe in comparison to, we were talking off the air, was about like maybe you're just gonna have to pick up some just essentials around the house and things like that. You're gonna have to take a step back as far as extra purchases, personal purchases are concerned.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. I think in addition to getting interviews with artisans, I think we've been able to bring in friends, of ours onto the show. They might be internet friends, but fellow enthusiasts or folks, kind of tangentially related to wet shaving. And I really enjoyed the roundtables. I think one really well-received episode, just as far as the comments and questions it garnered, was when we talked with Ross and Alex from Try That Soap. And we just talked about kind of the cycle, right, of gear acquisition, whether it be razors, brushes, and soaps.
Yeah, definitely. I think looking back, we've had some just great interviews, some great storytelling. I think a couple that just pop up to mind was with Will from Barrister and Man in Versus. Will's just a fantastic storyteller, and he just he's just so passionate, and I don't think either of us talked much during that one, because it was just fun just to let him kind of like go with it and just give him the microphone. And the other one that comes to mind was actually the one with Douglas and Fran from PAA. That was just I think a really, really nice little chat with them. And I said it in that episode, like Fran kind of ended up being the star of that one. And kind of in retrospect, it's still the case, because nothing, Douglas, if you're listening to this, like nothing against you, but like, there's a lot of like unsung heroes, like and stuff like that. I think um, in from a lot of the business elements, that people aren't familiar with, and so I think looking at bringing the spotlight even a little bit on them, is just like really nice and really refreshing to hear.
So one thing I don't think we ever really, established was kind of what we're after with the interviews, especially with the artisans. And I do want to at least share from my side, and there's obviously going to be plenty of overlap, but, I'm all about stories, and I listen to tons of podcasts. I love this medium. That's why I wanted to do the show on wet shaving. And I think storytelling is such a great way to connect with folks. And whether it's talking and hearing a lot about Fran's side about Phoenix shaving, because usually Douglas is the one in front of the camera. That was a really cool opportunity just to see either another side or learn something new about an artisan or a company. And I think folks in the past have said, oh, they really want to hear, they might want to hear everyone's take on the state of wet shaving, maybe the commercial, the business aspect. And while sometimes that might come up, I do want to say that first and foremost, it's, I'm interested in the human element, the human piece. Others love the science and the chemistry behind it. That's a shout out to our friends over at Razorburn, who can get into the nitty gritty. You and me being, enthusiasts, right? We're going to often talk about things on the consumer side of things. But as far as the interviews go, though, I did just want to put out there kind of what we're going after. It might not be what everyone's expecting in the interview, but to get that little, to get personality, to get a glimpse behind maybe the public persona. That's kind of always what I'm going after.
I think looking back in retrospect, when you initially approached me, asked me if I was interested in doing this, I had no idea maybe what I was looking for. I'm just like, all right, okay, this will be, we'll be lucky if we get past one episode, if you'll be able to like kind of stand me being around. Same thing. Like I listen to, I subscribe to like this ridiculous amount of podcasts. Part of it is just because of my job. I'm a home health nurse by trade, so a lot of time is spent in the car driving between patients' homes, and I can't listen to the radio. I can't listen to just to music. So throwing on a podcast, like it is my primary form of consuming content, is audio content, and so podcasting is just so important. And I just find for me that a lot of the ones that I really come to or connect with are ones where people are good storytellers, where they kind of just have that that ability to kind of hook you in with, even if it's just current happenings, right? Especially in such a niche hobby like wet shaving, we give the opportunity to someone to just tell their story, either from the past, currently, right now, or a lot of times I ask like, what's in the future? Like where do you see, your company or, the hobby 2-3 years from now? And just kind of seeing their thoughts, their insights on that is just like, is just really nice. Cause I don't think anyone has said the same thing. Everyone kind of has like different points where they plan on being in the next 2 to 3 years. And it's just it's going to be kind of fun, just kind of like, observing and journeying with them, through it.
I think part of what's been really fun is just flexibility and being willing to run with whatever opportunity presents itself. So that being said, there's still a pipe dream for Gerard. So if Gillette, you are listening to this episode, get back to my man.
I need to work on the hustle, the Gillette hustle. I would love to get someone from Gillette.
As far as I think it'd be foolish not to have a release for this coming November, December, and my hope would be that it is a reproduction. So I think like a Gillette Tech head on my favorite is like the fat handle, but it doesn't really matter. Just kind of go back into your library and bring us one of those greats from the past. And
use short comb.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the Tech is I mean, it's well loved and it's very newbie friendly as well.
So this is the other thing I said, right? Do something a little bit different, especially, kind of with the emerging uh, mid-priced and maybe premium priced razors and things like that. Yeah, do a Gillette Tech in stainless steel. Get the case, charge like $75, $100 for it, and I think you'll get a very healthy amount of people, to buy that thing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
do again, especially if you do like put a little bit of the work into the packaging and the presentation. I think people eat it up, at that price point, and they'll business wise, they can easily sell quite a few of those.
Yeah, we can only hope, right? And I did want to touch upon that since uh, we opened this podcast talking about that item. So I'm curious when we revisit what's available come the holiday season, maybe there'll be two. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm just incredibly curious on what it's gonna bring. I do think vintages still sell very well. The secondhand market is still very healthy as far as especially as far as Gillettes go. I'm definitely hoping that it wasn't just a one and done. I'm hoping that in there, like they were
Mm-hmm.
talking about doing something progressive, and on that. And again, someone from Gillette, your social media or anything like that is listening to this or something, hit us up. We would love to just kind of talk shop with you guys. Just to get some insight. That'd be great.
Yeah, I think even just to know what shaving enthusiasts can do to show support. I mean, I'm sure purchasing that release from Amazon, even if it's exclusive, obviously you're speaking, voting with your dollars in that case. But you're right. Where if there's about 200 reviews, maybe there's a couple hundred more as far as total purchases go, right? But if we want new people coming into this, whether as a hobby or just as what I think and what a lot of us think is a better way to shave. Uh, we just need more points of entry. One topic that fell by the wayside as we made room for more interviews was the topic of the soap-based tier list. So just to start populating that tier list, and I think what I wanted to start with was just our current top 5 favorite soap bases, knowing full well this will change and new stuff is coming out all the time. But at least to populate that tier list, Gerard, I'd love to hear your top 5 soap bases right now.
So the nice part about also this is because we talked about that tier list like very early and maybe even like episode 2 or 3, which was again maybe like 3 months ago already at this point, and kind of just like using a lot of soaps as of late. I want to preface it by saying that I'm always trying to like kind of look at different angles on using a soap, not like maybe underhydrating a lather, trying to push a lather to its limit, and even like seeing like how like overhydrating a lather what that will do. So in no specific order, at least as top as it goes, is Declaration Grooming Milk Steak, Zingari Man Sago, and Holy Cow Sierra. As far as definite like top 3, like we'll go. I know that we're talking about 5. There's a couple up there that like we can discuss down the line, but just those 3 soaps in particular, soap bases in particular, they all have their own quirks to kind of steal a line from Heather from Zingari, that all the top tier soap bases have not necessarily performance issues, they just behave differently, I guess as you lather them and things like that. But I think once you kind of like feel the characteristics of it, then they're just fantastic, so easy to use. Something that I kind of do want to like throw in there as well, um, though it's not widely available, is Murphy and McNeil's Kodiak base, which was only released with their late 2019 release, Nantahala, and that was a fantastic soap base. Just also definitely just up there in terms of tier, but it's sold out. It's extremely limited, and so I know that you and I were talking about that. Is like, can we discuss wanting to put a soap base on there if it's not at least regularly available, to shoppers, to consumers. But I think, just thinking about it, it's at least good to just like, put it out there that, like it's a good product's a good product no matter what. And part of the reason I think also that, wanting to put it on is because a lot of these artisans, they're very proud of like, the work that they do, like they work really hard. And whether they have an existing soap base or, they're continually like kind of pushing the gamut as far as making their work better, I think it's just fair for us, to shine the spotlight on their good work. So I want to throw that there. Now, another reason I think so far that I just want to throw those out there and not particularly others, like, is because I haven't used some of the others and things like that. So I know that I think you actually have for sure like top 5. I know there's a lot of overlap, but there's some that have been around that I just haven't had a chance to use yet. And yeah, I'm curious to hear your top 5 and kind of hearing kind of like what we're going to be talking about as far as like other bases, as far as the tier list goes. So yeah, well, what about you, John? What's in your top 5?
So for my top 5, and we definitely have overlap here, right? But I also put Declaration Milksteak, Holy Cow Ciaro, Zingaria Man Sego, and then for the remaining 2, which I think these 2 you've yet to try, which is Ariana and Evans, the updated A&E base that is, I believe all new soaps are going to be in that base, but Asian Pear kicked it off. And last but not least is Barrister and Man PP8. And that one's a little tricky too, because you do mention about availability. PP8, for those not familiar with that soap base, it was in the testing phases before Barrister and Man kind of settled on Excelsior. PP8 was in the running too, and that was the nickname for that formula. I think it's a little bit softer. It might be a little. So all these, that's the funny thing, is these are not necessarily new wet shaver friendly. To find the right hydration point, they're all kind of a bit thirstier. And PP8, I think what Will Carius has shared was he thought it was a little too soft to his liking, even if there are other performance metrics that are better. Either way, PP8, luckily we can see now in the Soft Heart series, which is a very small batch. I think they're under 100, where it's a playground for Will to test scents in, where you can get feedback from it, or I guess the intention is if something's really popular, it'll see a main release. But I know those are kind of hard to get. A lot of folks, which we've heard over the course of this podcast, do not like playing that game where they need to set an alarm or whatever and be on a site to get it in the first 5 minutes. Unfortunately, folks, Soft Heart series is one of those kind of soaps, but it's phenomenal. And I think the easiest thing to do would be for me, Gerard, to send you samples of those 2 soap bases.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously I'm down, and whatnot. But I think as far as when we talk about soap tier list, like what are the characteristics that maybe you're looking for in particular? I think it can be agreed that the trio that people look at, slickness, primary slickness, residual slickness, post-shave feel, are great. And they're usually at the forefront of what we kind of look for. Is there anything else you look for as far as like how a top tier soap base performs?
Yeah, that's a good question because sometimes I ask myself that it's ease of lather. Where does that fall? I think on an overall scale, it's important, but like if something's, as I just mentioned, these are all they all have some trick to it to getting it to like just the right spot. So ease of lather for kind of what either of us are considering top tier isn't exactly a very, it's not very weighty, right, of a category. So and I did want to say too, right, that with our different tiers, which so S class will be the top tier, and then A, B, C, D if necessary. But otherwise, I feel like we'll probably be able to use four categories. But this is just soap base, availability, scent, and all the other things. I think we're going to try to separate from because that kind of complicates the whole thing. And the other thing is, from any of the soaps that we want to cover on this list, I do want to say that they're going to be able to give you a shave. A big thing with this tier list is we want to identify what we think are some of the best in the game. Granted, it's totally subjective to you and me, but I am totally up for taking a soap that we've both tried and maybe digging down a little bit and finding what are some pros and cons that folks should know about, but will ultimately put it into a certain tier list.
There are so many like little factors, that also determine as far as like a soap's performance, and maybe something that will end up, kind of like ranking a little bit lower on the list. You can dial that in perfectly and get a better shave than, say, if you underhydrate or overhydrate a higher tier, soap on this list. It's also why I kind of, say, look, good soap is good soap, right? I can take a soap, I can try to maintain similar characteristics throughout. The amount of swipes, the type of pressure that I'm, using, the amount of water. Like some people, like I know, and this isn't a knock against anyone, but like some people go like super, super like, detailed. They want to put like, exactly 5 milliliters of distilled water, or purified water, to this just to get that like right consistency. And I said, if that's, like how you want to like approach it, cool, dude, go for it. For me, that's just like a little too much. And I don't want to take that away from like just enjoying the experience of using a certain product, right? Ease of lather is not something, that's crazy important, but it's definitely something I notice. I talk about Murphy Mignol's Kodiak soap base. That halo is so easy for me to lather. Like, I think one of the best compliments I can give that soap is that I didn't feel like anything out of the ordinary. I literally just loaded it. The lather came up quickly, super slick, and at the end I was just like, that was great. Like I just enjoyed that, that entire shave, and all the shaves I've done with it, from start to finish. Another thing I'll, say is that like this this list will definitely evolve and things like that. Maybe, I give I rank a soap one way, but maybe like, yeah, I was maybe underloading or overloading too much. And I ended up, getting like a better consistent lathers down the line. Like, I'll definitely just say, what, no, like this is way better than I initially, had entailed, as far as a base goes. But yeah, I think it's important to, at least put performance, up there. Um, I guess in relation to other, similar soaps in the market and whatnot, whether they're small batch releases or limited edition releases, even just to like, the super overflowy, like releases and whatnot. I think it's important for us to not to be able to say like, yeah, there is a difference with these things. Your dollar is going to something uh, noticeably better. you're buying a premium product, you're getting premium results, or you're getting significantly better results. So I think that's at the very least that we can, offer information that we can offer, to our listeners. Again, it is completely subjective. We can put that as it is. My opinion is my opinion, but I do think that it is important for us to at least give an idea, because maybe some people have seen like your videos, whether it's on your channel or our videos on the Daily Shaves or whatever it may be. And some people may figure that, okay, I see how these guys are kind of doing it. I feel like I do it similar to them. So if they have a certain result, or I see a certain result with how they lather their soaps, how they do a shave, then I can expect at least something similar, a similar experience as them. And yeah, that's, I think, all that I'm really, like wanting to offer with this, just as subjective as it is, just to like kind of like narrow that gap, because we can't try everything, not all of us can try everything all at once. So yeah, I hope that's what that's what this kind of tier system does.
Yeah, for sure. This is obviously something that we're in the process of developing. So we will obviously make revisions, course corrections if needed. But for the most part, just know that this is our opinion. Hopefully we can have some healthy, fun debate when when we kind of have a disagreement on where a certain soap should be placed. And I think this might be that this might be that quote unquote conflict folks are looking for, to just get a little spice up in our conversation. But with that being said, I don't disagree with any of your choices. Granted, 3 of 4 out of the 4 of your choices, we're on the same list. So I think it's safe to say that we'll start off populating the S class with Declaration Milk Steak, Holy Cow Sierra, Zingari Man Sago, and Murphy McNeil Kodiak base. And we can, when we start up the podcast again, after Gerard and his wife has had their baby and can speak again.
I think I think people like understand that, but it may be a while. So as we record this, just kind of put it out there. Yeah, like my son is due literally this week, so that's also why because I don't think we even put it out there that like, what, you guys are taking a little break, you're doing like a season. Yeah, at least for the time being, that's what's going to be happening. John's still going to be producing content, and I may do kind of like record like a little bit of a one-off or something, like a little blip, if it comes across.
Yep.
Just to kind of like help it along. But I know that that's going to be my focus, at least. Yeah, and it's my first, so yeah, I just kind of want to get everything settled at home first before diving back into like more episodes and stuff like that. And I would also like say this, for people, because I think some people are going to be listening to this and they just maybe a little bit either confused or concerned that maybe that we don't agree with maybe what like their favorite or top performing soaps are and whatnot. Like, I would love to hear in the comments, what do you specifically look for? Do you really like try to, I guess, experiment with a soap and water tolerances and things like that? Is it a case where maybe you've used some of the soaps that we've mentioned or that we really admire, and you're just like, no, like I just got garbage results with that. Like I would love to hear it. I would love to be like, what's going on and stuff like that.
It's worth mentioning, because this is something that's happened over the course of the podcast, that you guys might be listening or watching our show on various mediums. So I did want to give a quick plug to the different ways that you can kind of continue the conversation with us. give us your questions, suggestions, and the best way to reach us, both me and Gerard, we have the Lather Talk Twitter account. There is a Lather Talk Facebook account. And if you watch on YouTube, obviously there's a comment section there. And if you just like old school email, we have a lathertalkpodcast@gmail.com account. And those things, either both of us can check it, or if I'm checking it, I'll share it with Gerard. That might be easier in the coming season of busyness. But we are, we are very appreciative of feedback. And like Gerard said, right, especially when it comes to these subjective topics of your favorite soap base, favorite soap artisans, whatever, we'd love to hear from you. So many ways to get in touch.
If you have a problem, giving us your opinion, then that's on you, because it's not that difficult to get a hold of either of us. I had just kind of talked about it during the tier list, like I'm gonna have my son is gonna be, due this week, and it's kind of like posed a question to me, because my dad never really taught me, wet shaving, and both my grandfathers weren't around yet. They had both passed away just as I was like kind of going into like my teens, my early teens. So I never had, I had to discover wet shaving on my own. And I kind of thought about that. I'm like, I have so much soap. And again, I've said this in the past podcast. I did the rough math, right? I have roughly like 60, 65 soaps at the moment. And if I shaved every other day, I probably have enough soap to last until my son is in the third grade, starts the third grade, which is like at least 7 to 8 years. So stupid, and everything. And it is like saying that is so ridiculous, right? Like, I know people are saying like that's really, you're just over the top, Gerard. And I'll tell you right now, John's worse than I am. Okay, I'm gonna throw him under the bus. Like, he's probably pushing like 90 to 100 or something like that. So like his kids are gonna be starting college before he finishes his soaps. But yeah, like, am I gonna pass along this hobby to my son and future kids in general? And I thought about it a little bit, that I definitely want to teach him the traditional method of shaving. It's very much a long ways away before he starts growing facial hair. I don't know about you, John, but like I kind of had like the Asian, like the catfish, like probably when I was like 7th, 8th grade, like looks like baby fine hairs, like the slight, I call it the catfish, like and stuff like that.
Just like a really thin mustache?
Like it's a really like a thin Fu Manchu.
Oh, gotcha,
gotcha.
Like there. But not nearly as.
But and I'm just like, and I never shaved it, right? One, I think when I was like in my teens, like maybe a freshman in high school or whatever, I just didn't want to ask my dad to shave it off, and I think I was almost like shamed, like shamed, they're just like, what are you gonna shave? That like little, like that little mustache on it? Like, you call that a mustache? No, like wait till it grows or something like that. And just never did. I think it was one of those cases where like the more I shaved, like the more like my face like said, oh, like you're taking off the hair. Let's start to, grow in a little bit more. But I know for my son, I definitely want to, get him set up and stuff like that. Now, do I think I'm gonna like? Some people have asked, like, are you going to pick up like a birth year razor, like something, for him this year? And then like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. Right. I'm not going to buy something for him, hold it until he's like 12 or 13. If he's like, even at that, or 14 or whatever, and then go that way. No. So I already know I'm not going to do that, but I do plan on like little things, like maybe handing him one of my razors without a blade in it, as he, even if he's a toddler, and kind of like get him like into it, maybe I'll get him to like make a lather, or I'll make the lather and have him play with it a little bit and stuff like that. I think those are the things that are important. And if anything, just for like bonding, you know, um, just for like bonding with him. And I don't know, like dads out there, parents out there, because I know that there are some ladies out there also listening. Is that, has the hobby made its way into the personal for you at all? Like, have you found that it's a opportunity, for bonding with your kids more? Are your kids so, or are your kids already old enough they're just like, man, I don't care about this nonsense. This some old stuff that, my old man does, or whatever. But yeah, I think I just definitely, I'm looking forward to, introducing, not the hobby, but using it as an opportunity, like for quality time, with my kids in the future.
So my son is 6 going on 7. Probably by the time we release this episode, he'll have just turned 7. And I have a daughter also, she's 4. But back when I would regularly be the one giving him his bath for the evening, the routine changes every now and then. I think right now I'm trying to clean up dinner and do the dishes while my wife hoses him down. But on the occasion that I'm giving the bath, we definitely like, oh, here's what I give him. It might have been like one of the smaller, kind of the fine synthetic brushes, so kind of it's easier to hold in his hand. And then
Okay.
I gave him a little plastic salsa bowl. I think I must have put either a soap sample that was still in there, or put some cream, something easy to do. And he had a lot of fun lathering because he's seen me do it. And he kids will show interest in what you're doing from a young age. So like you said, kind of just putting on the lather is fun. And he couldn't really see what he's doing because we're trying to take the bath and stuff too. So I think I went to go find like a little mirror so he could see what he's doing. Like, oh, just like dad. So that was maybe like a year or two ago. When my gear comes in, sometimes they're really interested, like a shave bowl. They're like, "Ooh, what's that?" Especially if it's got some cool colors on it.
It's a new salsa bowl, son.
It's
Hit
ceramic.
the tortilla chips.
Yeah, don't drop it. Don't drop it. And one thing I regularly do though with all members of my family, if a new soap comes in, I'll get their opinion on the scent. So that's one thing. They'll probably remember that, like, yeah, Dad's always, well, when the small box that has my name on it comes in, like, Dad, the shave stuff? They know. They they know what's up. And so they'll sniff the tub and then give a thumbs up, middle, or down. That's a very simple system, but it's through that system though, it's really surprising because I know kind of what their preferences are, but they'll surprise me. So it's not like even like, oh, only like sweet, fruity, simple scents for my daughter, and then maybe warmer scents for my son. Like it's just sometimes it's totally random, but
like thinking about that, like,
yeah,
I think when we're kids, we definitely don't have like our sense of smell, our sense of taste hasn't like quite matured. That's why like kids just like love sugar. They just like there's just something pleasant about it.
yeah,
And so they just like like yearn to it. I figure like if anything, if there's a shave soap that smells like chocolate chip cookies, then you have to put that into the do not eat pile.
right,
Please,
true.
over this is not cookie dough, just smells like it. Yeah, that's also kind of like a curious one. Maybe that's something even like we should look at in the future, just kind of like how's our sense of smell, or I guess our our affinity towards certain scents in the hobby changed, like from the beginning and whatnot. And I think that would be the same, like you said,
Yeah.
like they sometimes they like it or they don't. Maybe if you gave them that same soap nowadays, they'll have a different opinion on it today than they did, like a year or so ago.
No, that's totally true. And yeah, like you're saying, like our sense of smell is so connected with our sense of taste. And there's a bunch of foods that they didn't like before, they like now, and then they used to love and now they hate. Like that's changing all the time. So again, I have been pleasantly surprised though, where I think something might be too floral or kind of clean and maybe on the boring side, like they'll love it. So yeah, it's always fun for me to say I never know what to expect, and maybe just that exposure, kind of like you're saying, right? It's like, oh, I've never smelled that thing before. I might not like it now, but at least it's kind of in the memory now. Dark scents don't go over well in this house in general, but that's okay. That's for, you know, dad needs scents that he likes as well. So not that I'm chasing anything overly dark, but it's nice on occasion.
I'm still very much a far ways away for him to even comprehend what like a smell is, so um but yeah, it's definitely something that's been on my mind, like as he grows up, some like, don't get me wrong, like I'm casually into sports and stuff like that, and some people are just like, all right, get him, the sports gear. I'm here in Southern California, so you're gonna get him a Lakers jersey, you're gonna get him, like a Dodgers, like hat, you're gonna get him this. And it's like, I might get him the soap, like I might get, and stuff like that. And oddly enough, I'll try to show in the next one. Maybe I'll even bring him on. But one of the gifts that my wife got me was a onesie, a customized onesie with like a image of like a razor, brush, and bowl, and stuff like
Wow.
that. So he has a onesie, and I have a matching T-shirt, and
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, it's very
That's
it'd be
awesome.
very it's very pretty adorable. So like maybe that'll be like some of like the ways of passing it along. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to pass the hobby along, but I'm definitely going to use it as an opportunity for bonding and stuff like that.
For sure. You got to at least show how you do it, right? And then they can, if they decide to go the cartridge or electric route, well, that's part of.
Oh no, if he wants to go electric, then he can spend his own money on that or whatever. It might be like Get Out, a bit, right now. So
Awesome. Well, I definitely look forward to hearing. It's one of those things where with newborns, it's so different month to month, and like you said, eventually once they're more interactive, even the phase where they're starting to crawl, move, and talk, like it kind of it all happens very fast. I'm sure you've heard that already. That them, kids growing up real fast. It's the truth. I mean, part of it because that lack of sleep, you're just you're trying to make it day to day, and then before you know it, they're they're asking to borrow your razor and stuff. So yeah,
it's okay. I'm good. I think I'm ready for it.
good luck, man.
Thank you. Yeah, and anyone else, I would love to, like give me
Thoughts and
some
prayers.
give me some dad advice and anything like that. So I'm all ears. I'm all ears for it. Okay.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, yeah. Thanks for, I guess, updating me and the listeners on that very exciting part of your life. So I think we're going to wrap up this episode with what do we hope to look for in season 2 of Lather Talk?
Yeah. I think definitely the majority of like our episodes this year was just really talking with artisans and hearing their stories, their past, presents, and their futures and stuff like that. I think that's going to be something I'm encouraged. I think we're encouraged to do. On in the future, I think that it's just been fun to hear. So just reaching out to anyone, to people, and if anyone out there wants to reach out to us, like we're all open for it, definitely. At the same time, I think some of the same things that we've looked at, kind of like not necessarily what's trendy, but sometimes you just hear new things, whether it's a new release. Back in November, that Gillette Heritage came out. Like, what's going to be, that next product, that is going to kind of continue, what products are going to continue to push the hobby forward, right? Is it just a new scent? Is it a new base? Is it, is there a new company that's going to, that's going to come out, and things like that. Here's another thing that I think that we haven't really talked about. I just thought about this, like recently, that a few months ago, Supply, the razor company, right? They were featured on Shark Tank and they got a deal, like they're on Shark Tank. Are we going to be seeing more companies like, scale up in that way? And who knows? Yeah. And I guess I'm just like I'm very optimistic in terms of like the future of the hobby, the future of wet shaving in general, and just like seeing what it's gonna be like. I think I had mentioned, as far as like these soap bases are concerned, as far as that it just seems like that bar is being raised up and up and up, and I do not even think we have even plateaued yet. I don't even think we've even like reached a peak. So I think in a couple of months or however long it is before we get back together, like what's going to be kind of up there, where is it going to continue to ascend to? And that's pretty much it. I'm just like looking forward to like whatever comes our way.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree and look forward to talking to more artisans, both ones that are well established in the community that we just haven't spoken to yet, and obviously also newer brands that could definitely use a little more exposure and have kind of a interesting story to tell. I think I'd love to talk to folks in that category. We do mention about kind of getting in touch with us. I think it's really important that listeners, who we've talked to this season. If there's someone you are dying to hear from, also get in touch with us and let us know who do you want to see as guests for season 2, because I think that that'll definitely sway us certain ways to prioritize our scheduling and whatnot. From a behind the scenes standpoint, I do want to kind of plan out the season a little bit better, in that it might alternate between an interview and then either a discussion between me and you, Gerard, or even that kind of roundtable discussion, right? I think it's good to have a nice mix, and with some with a little bit of planning, that should be no problem. I know we've talked about kind of getting ahead. A lot of times I was doing week to week, and realize that folks are still catching up, and that's totally fine. We all have busy lives, but where I kind of put it on this show to be a weekly podcast, I'm going to admit that is not a sustainable model. And so, into season 2, to try to get ahead and have a more steady stream of episodes for you guys, and having enough time to put the work into it to make it sound and look as much as good as possible. I think we might move to a twice a month, every other week, something a little bit more sustainable. So that might be a little bit of a preview as far as how the schedule when we come back will look. But a surprising amount of people said, "Oh yeah, there's so many." They told me there's so many episodes. Like, oh, okay. Granted, I'm sure there's folks who will be saddened to hear that there's not fresh content every week, but at the same time, we do really want to be mindful. I really want to be mindful of burnout and kind of how I'm allocating my time between hobby time, work, and family life.
Definitely. I think it's funny because, and this is something we've also talked about, and it probably is a little bit appropriate here, is just that, as far as whether it's a podcast or shaving, men's grooming, is continually looking at the content that we're providing, and is it helping the hobby grow, right? Is what the content that we're putting out there, getting into people's cell phones, laptops, wherever whatever they're consuming it from, and is it helping them make a purchase towards a specific artisan? Is it helping them get an idea of a product they want to buy and whatnot? And ultimately, I think that's something we should also ask, like, we already said, like, if you have anything to offer us, like your whether it's a review, whether it's something like that, helps us. I think it really gives us a perspective on what listeners are really looking for, what people are looking for in the hobby.
yeah, I think there's a lot to look forward to. Hopefully, I think the break will help us kind of refine some of these ideas. Again, making the necessary contacts to line up said guests. So, yeah, just as much as Gerard and I have shared what we hope to see in this podcast, we'd also love to hear from you. I think we've been saying that on a number of topics, but really, listeners, it was your support, your feedback, for those of you who have commented and tweeted and whatnot. We really, really appreciate that, because I feel like that gave us energy and motivation to hit the pavement running, to hit it hard, and really try just to give you the best show that we can. So for everyone that's been on board since the beginning, thank you so much. If this is your first episode, go back, catch some of the interviews, because this is a bit of a recap. I mean, we hit some new stuff too, but thanks for checking out this podcast, guys, and we just really appreciate all your support.
Yeah, thank you.